Welcome to another episode of Artifacts, where our lives affect art inside out. I am your host, Jayde Gibbons. Today we had the pleasure of sitting down in conversation with amazing Bermudian photographer Jayde Gibbons. Jayde Gibbons is a self-taught photographer behind the lens of Queendom Heights Photography. Growing up in a family home in St. George's, Bermuda, her family realized that she had artistic abilities from an early age. As she grew older, she realized that the Bermuda she knew wasn't the same Bermuda that was being showcased to the world. Her work quickly went from hobbyist to professional as she developed her craft and sharpened her eye. She was behind the lens with purpose, which can be attributed to much of her success. Jayde noticed a discrepancy in imagery of Bermuda, both mentally and physically. She believes that Bermuda is way more than the pink paradise that is pushed to the masses. She believes that the beauty of Bermudian people and the vibrant culture should be celebrated, and she has made it her mission to do so. Her work highlights the importance of togetherness and camaraderie within our communities. In February 2019, Masterworks Museum hosted their first 441 showcase, where Jayde was one of the featured artists. Jayde was subsequently the winner of the 2019 Shaman Prize. She was also selected as an exhibiting artist in the 2020 Bermuda Biennial, and this year, she won the Best of Bermuda Photography Award. The main goal of her work is to instill a sense of pride in Bermudian people by showing Bermuda the way we see it, minus the pink sand. If you would like to connect with Jayde, you can find her on Instagram at Queendom_Heights. Good afternoon, Jayde. Welcome to the Artifacts podcast. We're super excited to have you on the show today. Thank you for taking the time to be with us this afternoon.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, so happy to have you.
Hey, girl.
I'm so glad that we could coordinate. But I just wanted to share with everybody how Jayde and I know each other. We actually went to high school together. We were in the same art class, GCSE art class, with Miss Wellman, Miss Gill. Yes, all the way back 2008, 2007. Yes, they were knowing each other for a really, really long time. And it's just so nice to see your progress and, you know, what you were doing then and what you're doing now. Honestly, it's like so humbling, like to really see someone's beginnings and then how you're like blown up and you're like this big artist, big photographer. It's so nice. So nice to see.
Thank you, girl. You're making me blush over here.
But yes, first I just wanted to have you just talk a little bit about what your experience was like growing up in Bermuda. Because I know that you highlight Bermuda from your perspective, and that's really big in your work. So can you speak a little bit about what your experience was like?
Yes. My childhood I think I just had a typical Bermudian childhood. You know, it was amazing. I grew up in St. George's, grew up in a huge family home. I was introduced to the arts from young, luckily. So outside of photography, I'm into not as much as I used to, but I'm into painting, I draw, dip and dabble in some other things as well. Photography is just what's got. Yeah, I had a typical Bermudian childhood, getting outside, climbing trees,
Yes.
riding a bike, Saturday, first thing in the morning, outside, come back, come on, just playing around the neighborhood and exploring. It was a typical Bermudian upbringing.
I'm really happy to hear that art was like a big part of your childhood as well. Because, you know, kids need to be able to explore because that time like kind of sets the precedent and like buries the seeds within us for us to be able to grow those things like later in our adulthood. That's awesome.
Exactly. I'm very grateful for that. And you don't even realize how important that is until you get older and you're able to, because who knows what I would have been doing if my family didn't notice that I had talents and was like, okay, let me buy this child a sketch pen.
Right.
So,
yes, exactly.
It's so important to pick that up in kids. And even with Queendom Heights now, I've had some interactions. I've spoken at schools and helped out with some projects, some community stuff. And kids, we need some programs.
Yes, we do.
So much. It's so much.
We do need the programs because the kids, they just have so much wonder and so much imagination. We need programs in place for them to be able to cultivate it.
Yeah.
In due time. And for the organizations that are doing what they can, like Kaleidoscope, BSOA, putting on student shows and stuff like that. Kudos kudos to you for sure. I know that your aunt Tiffany Painter, I love Tiff.
Yeah.
She was a huge inspiration for you and your art. Can you talk about what it was like
Yeah.
growing up with her as the artist in the family?
Yes, I'm cheesing so hard. Like I love her so much. She's only 5 years older than me, so it never really felt like a aunt and niece relationship. Like we
Right.
we were always close. And my aunt Tiff, her sister is way older than her. She never got to be a big sister to a girl. So when I
Right.
came along, it was just like, oh my god, my niece. You know,
Oh
but
my
I
god,
mean,
you said it just like her. You sound just like her just now.
yeah, my dog. I honestly feel like she helped form my imagination. Like she was into Zelda and all of that stuff when we was coming up. So like we
Right.
used to go outside and her imagination was just so broad. I'm younger than her, so I don't even realize it. I'm just thinking we're having fun. But
Right.
as I'm older, I'm like, damn, she was really a creative kid. And I'm really
Mm-hmm.
glad that she, not even just her, my uncle Michelle, he's creative as well. All of
Right.
us were just always with each other and always creating together and playing together. And I remember she had a project. She went to Soltis. She taught me, I remember it vividly. She showed me how to draw a mermaid. And to her, it was probably just some simple little something, but I was practicing that thing.
Right.
And I'm so grateful for her.
And she's
Like, she's,
still doing her thing now too, like with her poetry and stuff.
yeah. A lot of people don't know she's a visual artist, but most people only know her as a poet. But
Right.
she,
I'm
yeah,
really
I'm just
happy to hear that she was influential for you. And sometimes that's what it takes, it's just having like that one person. And even if
exactly.
like at the time you don't realize it, like you said, in hindsight in your adulthood, you could look back and see some of these seeds that were planted within you. I wanted
100%.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you what it is that you're exactly trying to say with your photographs, and how do you actually get your photographs to do what it is that you're trying to say? Because your work is incredible. If you haven't seen Jay's work, you need to see it. This work is so raw, it's so honest, it's so you. So, what exactly are you trying to say with your work?
The image of Bermuda, it never really sat right with me.
Mm-hmm.
What they put out there, it's just not Bermuda. It's not who we are,
Right.
And I used to work as a bartender on Calico Jacks.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know, that's a ship up in Dockyard, and the tourists come up to cruise ships and first
Yeah.
bar to come to the boat, and so many people, nowhere to lie, used to say they didn't realize there were so many black people in Bermuda. And when someone first said that, I was like, "What? What do you mean?"
It's
Like to me,
predominantly black. Right.
like, exactly. What do you mean? Well, I mean, we all live in the sun. What color you thought we were? But then when you dig deeper and you look at the Bermuda tourism areas and
Mm-hmm.
who the type of things that we advertise, we advertise for golf and
Right.
and beaches and 5-star resorts, and it's just it's not who we are.
Mm-hmm.
And visuals are important, right?
Yes.
And I honestly truly believe that if you don't see, for black people especially, if you don't see positive images of yourself, or
Mm-hmm.
you don't see, you don't see yourself in that light, or just you even existing, it can be problematic, because
Yeah.
then it's like, as a kid, if you don't see anything, any positive images of yourself, or any, it's like, well, damn, what? You kind of have nothing to go on. You're just,
You
and so
internalize that, and it becomes
that's
like it manifests in other ways, and it becomes like factual to you. Like you really
uh,
start to believe that you're not worthy and things like
precisely.
that. Yeah.
Precisely. So really, that was the main push to start Queendom Heights. Like that, I didn't even realize how bad it was until I started shooting, and literally just taking my camera to places that I would usually go. Good
Mm-hmm.
Friday celebration, dancing Davids, up Somerset, anywhere. Take your camera. It's important to document who we are as we
Yes.
are,
Yes.
and to push that out and show people like, hey, this is not all we are. The whole goal is to create a sense of pride for Black Bermudians, not even
Mm-hmm.
just Bermudians, specifically Black Bermudians, because we don't even realize how damaged we are.
Yes.
I hear people talk about, oh, Bermuda don't have a culture this way, and it's like, what? What you mean?
And we have such a strong culture.
But then when you think, well, if you're not taught anything.
Yeah, it stems from us like not learning our history, like in school. Like it's things that I just learned about us and our history, maybe like within this year that I've never
Mm-hmm.
heard about before, which is crazy when you think about that. Like I probably know more about American history than I do Bermudian history.
Hello. And it's like, for what? So yeah, that's the whole thing of Queendom Heights. I want Bermudians to have something for us, like to be
Yes.
proud of. We know we're lit. We know we're beautiful people.
Yes.
Like, we know our culture is vibrant, but we don't share that
Yeah, we
with
don't
the
see it. We don't see
yeah,
it.
exactly. And if you
Yes.
don't see it, you don't believe it. And then if you don't believe it, then
Then
everything
what
that
is
comes
it? Mm-hmm.
and value yourself. And so imagery is powerful. I thank God last time I on TIFF again, a
Right.
visual. How else, I can't go shouting in the streets or I mean I can, but it won't really be too effective. Like respond to art.
Yes, that's the
Hey,
thing.
her.
Art is so powerful. Imagery, I think it resonates with us in a different visceral way, like that we don't even think about. Imagery works
Yeah.
like on a subconscious level, and I think that that's
Mhm.
why it's so important because
Very
we pretty
powerful.
much live our lives from a subconscious standpoint. And so when you're photographing images, powerful images, like images, like when you see images, I feel
Mm.
like I want to cry. Like seriously, because you like it's like visual storytelling. I told you about this when we were at the biennial. You had all King's men at the
Kingsman, yeah.
biennial.
Mhm.
And just seeing those faces, these are everyday people, but you have lifted them to a place where they could feel like a sense of pride within themselves. Like that's why it was just so powerful for them to be in those spaces because Black Bermudians aren't necessarily represented in those spaces, like
Mhm.
period. So that's why it's so
Yeah.
important. And like I'm ready for your video work. I don't know about you, but I'm ready for your
You know,
video work.
it's coming, it's coming.
Yes.
And like even to hear you say all of that, I don't know. I'm humble. I try to stay humble. I was raised that
Mm-hmm.
way. I try to let things get to my head. So to hear you even say that, and to me, it's just like this is regular life. This is
Yeah.
this is really who we are. Like we know these people by name. We see them. But everybody has a story,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I want people to understand. And like everybody has a story.
Yes. And speaking about these stories, because I mean, these are untold stories of
Yeah.
Bermuda. Why is
Mhm.
it important for you to share these kinds of narratives?
To be honest, I don't think I'm gonna be alive to even be able to reap the benefits of what I'm doing right now, right? Like that's
Right.
how big I'm trying to be. And when
Right.
I was coming up as a child, I didn't have these images to look at. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't see any of this. Like I said earlier, if it wasn't for my aunt Tiff, I really don't even know how I would be thinking. And you look around at your peers and we see all these stuff that's happening, and
Mm-hmm.
when you understand how important visuals are, and to see that we didn't have these images when we was coming up, and
Yeah.
any not even just images, but we didn't have certain programs, we didn't have people, fighting for us or telling us we're important or
Mm-hmm.
showcasing us or any of that, and then now we're adults and we can look around and we see the effects of that. Like, man, so we have a whole other generation of kids coming up. I've had parents come up to me and tell me how the kids want to be photographers now, and
Oh
they
wow, that's amazing.
yes, like my godson, he hit me up. He was like, "Good mom, we had an art project. We have to study a Bermudian artist, and you're on there." And I was like, "What?" He
That's
was
so nice.
so excited to study his godma Jayde, like as a
Yes.
Bermudian artist. I'm alive, and I went artists as long gone inaccessible. Sorry, yes,
Yes.
keep.
Someone
I
can
want
literally call you up, and that's the thing. Access is extremely important. Like if
exactly.
kids see you as a figure within the community and then they know that they could message you or they
Yes.
could call you or ask to spend a little bit of time with you, that makes such a big difference.
Like it's so deep to where even though I'm doing this full time,
Mm-hmm.
still in the back of my head, I'm just like, this ain't even a real job. Like I'm winging it, just because art isn't really seen as a full time job, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing it.
Yeah.
How I feel like this is what you're doing, like for real. Stop
Mm-hmm.
downplaying it. So that just goes to show how deep it goes, like
Yeah.
mentally.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
it's really for
And
the next generations.
it
That's
is.
it.
It is. And I'm happy that you have them in mind when you're doing what you're doing, because then your purpose has become bigger than you. And that's how you know, like, it's going to be amazing. The legacy that you leave, because
I hope
not just thinking
so.
about yourself and your family, but also thinking about the lives and the young people whose lives you could impact and like positively inspire. So
Yeah.
that's super awesome. We briefly talked about your biennial submission, but I wanted to ask you about the photography installation that you have at
Okay.
Bermuda National Gallery. What is the work about, and how important is it for you to have your work selected for the exhibition?
Hello. Even though Bermuda is predominantly Black, we know that the art world in Bermuda it's just starting to open up to,
Right.
and not even just for Black artists, but Black art, period.
Mm-hmm.
Black art that showcases Black Bermudian life,
Yes.
not just a Black painter,
Mm-hmm.
who paint watercolors and Black art, Black and
Right.
Black art. It hasn't been displayed. The Bermuda National Gallery, it's such a big institution in
Mm-hmm.
Bermuda. And I didn't even know about the biennial until first time someone had mentioned it to me was Lisa Howie. She mentioned the biennial to me last year after my first show.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, what? Like, I don't know what the biennial is. What are you talking about? I'm just, got my work displayed. So she was
Right.
like, no, answer, you should really answer and get. So, obviously time goes by, reading up on it. I'm like, okay, let me answer the biennial. And what I like about the biennial is that you don't just enter and your work is shown. You
Mm-hmm.
have to have a plan. It has to be a thought out process.
Yes.
You have to be chosen.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't expecting to be chosen just because of the history of the biennial.
Right.
But when they did choose me and the response to my piece, I was like, okay, all right, cool.
Yes.
So
Like, this is it. Like, this is it. I'm her.
so the piece was always going to be something from the MNFR series. MNFR standing for My Niggas for Real. And I haven't really put out there yet, but it's something I've
Right.
been putting. It's black and white images showcasing Bermudian Black men just in
Mm-hmm.
our them living, the fathers, public figures, just
Mm-hmm.
existing, Black men existing. All the King's Men, that's just an extension of that. So the piece is black and white images of Black Bermudian men, like I said, just existing fathers,
Mm-hmm.
community people, just it's positioned in a way, it's an assortment of frames. So it looks like someone's home with all the
Mm-hmm.
frames and stuff on the walls and different types of frames and different shapes and sizes. But I wanted to, outside of just the images, I wanted it to be something that symbolizes brotherhood and
Mm-hmm.
community and togetherness and family. But then
Yes.
there's a piece in the corner of this mask, and I'm like, when I first saw, I bought the mask, and when I first saw it, I was like, this kind of looks like a Gumby, but
Yes.
it's
It really did. Mm-hmm.
it looks like a Gumby. So I'm like, okay, gotta incorporate this somehow. I
Yeah.
wish it was open so everybody could go see it because it's really such a big deal to me and it's really, really close to my heart. The gallery reopens, people can go see it.
I
But
know. I was so sad when they closed it down. Well, obviously they had to for COVID, but whenever
that was
it does open back up, like, I encourage everybody who's in Bermuda to go and see it.
that was such a magical night today. Oh my
Yes,
gosh.
it was
I felt
so
like
amazing.
it was electric. It was an amazing night.
Yeah,
An
and it definitely served as a reminder that,
amazing.
like, this is the reason why we're doing this. And by the way, like, Jade and I were both in the biennial, which was awesome. Calix was also
Yes.
in it.
Hmm.
Yeah, like, it was awesome because I felt like the selected artists were diverse and
Yes.
representative of what
Uh,
Bermuda really is. So it wasn't
yes.
just black, but it was also white. And that's how Bermuda is. It's both. It's not just one. So I was
It's,
really happy to be a part of that. And I'm not sure if they're going to be keeping it up for longer. I think that they might.
yeah, I think it's up to October or something. Or it was. Like I know it was gonna be up for a long time. But I
Right.
don't think they'll be keeping it longer than what it was to make up for the time it was closed.
Right, right. So I definitely encourage everybody to go and check it out. In your work, Jade, how do you get the person, the place, or the thing that's in front of you, in which you photograph, like, just the way you want you want it to be? Do you do a lot of staging, or is it more like candid?
I'm kind of socially awkward, right? So like I don't really like asking people to take their pictures. I prefer a more candid type of thing. Sometimes I ask people to just, stay there or turn this way, but for the most part it's candid
Right.
stuff because that's real life.
So I wanted to ask you because I mean, we went to high school together, and I know that you were interested in art. You always were interested in art, super talented. But what was your original career path, and how did you go from being a person who's interested in various forms of art to being an aspiring photographer, and then to actually doing it full time for a living?
Yeah. So I never really had a career path. I knew I wanted to be a photographer.
Yeah.
American Top Model came on. I used to watch that show religiously.
I love that show.
My favorite part was always the final shot. And I was like, damn, like that is what made me want to be a photographer. So even though high school, I want to be a fashion photographer. I I was trying to go to Savannah College of Art and Design. I don't know if you remember, but they took us to a college for up at Bermuda College one time.
Yes.
And they were there, and I was like, yeah, I need to go to this. So real life, couldn't afford to go to school. Graduated from Berkeley at Bermuda College, doing the visual arts course, but still, like, I never knew what I wanted to do in life. I wanted to be an artist, but because being an artist isn't really a career, and you can't make no money from that. It was like, all right, well, let me just work and hustle, and so I did a few things. I worked security. I worked in telecommunications. I worked in offices. And none of it was fulfilling.
Yeah.
And you got to a point in life where you're like, I'm literally just waking up every single day, same time, doing this job, coming in, you're miserable. They have you by neck because they are giving you money, so you have to show up. It's like I could never do that. I still can't sit still. One day I was just like, I quit my job at Digicel and I went to work for Pembroke Tile and Stone. I quit there in March. No, before I quit, sorry, work had started to pick up, and I noticed, like, because I was doing photography on the side, I'm like, okay, I'm making good money doing this.
Right.
And then one month I made more money with my photography than I did with my full-time job. And that was just part time. So I'm like, Jay, you ain't got no kids, you ain't married.
Right. Exactly.
If anything happens, it's just on me, and I take courage of me.
Yeah.
So I quit my job and said, all right, let's try this out. And that was a year and a half ago.
Wow. That's amazing. It's beautiful to hear about your journey, because I think a lot of times people think like, if you're an artist, like it's such an easy path to get in there. But I'm telling you, it's the hardest. I mean, flip. I was in law school and I was like, I am so unfulfilled, and I just like I cannot continue to do this and like live a life of
unhappy.
Unhappy and just being so bored, and it was terrible. So I was like, you know what? I don't know what's gonna happen, but I know that I need to do this. I know that I need to make a decision and just choose what it is that I love. And same like you. Ain't look back since.
I wouldn't advise anybody to do like I did it. I literally just decided on Monday I was going to quit my job and quit my job plan. I didn't. So anybody who's thinking of just quitting your job, have a plan. If you're in Bermuda, at least.
Right.
It'll cause you a lot less headaches and stress, but nah, man, I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
So many great things have come out just from quitting that and like believing in yourself and taking a chance on yourself. It's terrifying, but it really shows you what you're capable of.
And so fulfilling. I mean, same, like every day I wake up and I'm doing exactly what I want to be doing, what I love.
My money, my earned money, nobody, I choose my jobs. I dictate how it's a liberating feeling, and I feel like it's easier to work that way.
Yes.
On my end.
Doing exactly what you love. So I feel like in your path, like it's more of like a purpose walk, coming closer to like the best way that you feel like you can express yourself as a person. I think like if we didn't make the decision, we would probably like look back on life and regret it so much.
I just feel like as artists, it's our duty. I don't know. We're gonna like artists are gonna save the world. I feel
Yes,
like so like, we have
absolutely.
to showcase these talents and like have a voice and artists with just skill, but it's no drive or anything. It's like, well, what are you doing, baby? Come on, get with it. Change the world here. It's up to
Right,
us.
exactly. We have a special talent and a unique gift and space carved out for us in the world. Like, step into your greatness. Come on, you can do
We need
it.
your help.
Exactly, exactly. So that's why I love to see other artists and other creatives, like, living a life on their own terms. I mean, it's so inspiring to me. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to, have this podcast and have these kinds of conversations, because I think about other artists a lot, and I'm super inspired by other people and their practice.
COVID's happening, everybody's just showcasing the talents, or I just haven't been paying attention all this time, but there's so much dopeness happening in Bermuda right now, like in the
Yes,
art world.
yes,
It's,
it really
it's
is, and I'm
it's
loving to see it. And you know what?
yeah.
Maybe COVID actually did bring this out, because I think maybe COVID allowed people to kind of like self-reflect and to pause and to be still and to listen,
Yeah.
to their inner voice. Because when you think about it, we're always on the rat race. We're always so busy, never really having time to just kind of like stop
Do
for
what
a
we want to do.
second. So
And you just like not go from work, come home, you're just sitting off, just trying to catch yourself real quick, get up, do it again tomorrow. It's no, man. No.
yeah, yeah.
COVID, I know I have ideas that came out from COVID, so
Mm-hmm.
I know other artists are working.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely. I love to see it. I love to see it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Speaking of other artists, what are your thoughts on collaboration, and in what ways would you like to collaborate with other artists in the future?
Okay. So I won't say too much, but I'm
Yeah.
working on this project. My ultimate goal
Mm-hmm.
is to create something like how Bermuda Arts Council is, and they give grants to artists and
Yes.
stuff. I would
Mm-hmm.
hope to create something with other Bermudian artists where we're able to come together, make money, do things like podcasts and I don't know, just some dope stuff and give back to Bermudian artists
Yes.
because
Give back to the
it's
community.
it's not enough programs.
Yeah.
It's not enough. More than enough money here.
Oh,
You know?
absolutely.
We already don't have what this is. Like we need money to do these things. So
Yeah.
that's
That's
what
exciting.
yeah.
That's super
Working on some
exciting. Yes.
yeah.
And that's the thing, you just gotta start somewhere. What's interesting too about that is, like, when you start something, like what you started as, it may grow into something else that you didn't even imagine it to be. I think that's what's
Yeah.
really cool about just getting started where you are.
Yeah, it's
Definitely.
exciting. It sounds corny, but the feeling is just excited for the future because when when you see your thing unfolding and you're just like, yes. People don't
Yes.
understand. You're straight grinning and you're just happy all the time, but it's like you all don't even know what you don't even
It's
know.
taken so much, so many sleepless nights, so many
Oh
doubt,
man.
fear, all of that.
Floridians are the hardest to please. Like all the things
Yes.
I love about Floridians, I can't stand about us. We are the hardest to please. Hardest. But at the same time, it's like, all right, well, if you're, if your Bermudians are got your back, you know you're lit and you know you got something. So
Right, that's the thing. It is very hard to get Bermudian support, but it's interesting because I feel like once Bermudians do support, like, they really support and
they
they show
support.
up and show out for sure.
Yeah. So I'm glad to see the start. Like everyone seems to be more interested in the arts and want to help, and so
Mm.
it's exciting.
Yeah. And it's also nice to be a part of that conversation and this movement that's happening, because I think,
Yeah,
it's going to take us to make the change that we want to experience
sure.
and see in Bermuda anyway. So,
Millennials are here to shake things up,
yeah.
to have, we still have that connection with the older generation. We have those morals and that respect, and we kind of understand why they do the things they do on a deeper level. And then we can also relate to the younger generation and like we
Mm-hmm.
get it,
Yeah.
So I feel
Yeah.
like we originally got generation and
Yes.
we in that right now in so many different ways. It's just
Yeah.
It's amazing.
It is. It's amazing. But I wanted to ask you, what's your favorite photo shoot that you've done, and
Mm.
why?
Can I say two? I more or
Of
less like
course. Of course.
okay. Um, commercial work. I do a lot of commercial work with Cuisine Shop. They bring in natural products and beauty products and all about saving the earth and all of that. But Mia, the owner, she's a creative herself. She's a
Yes.
musician. Like she lets me know what she wants, and she's organized. And she comes with a mood board, and she's just. But she lets me be creative. Like she lets me do my
Nice.
thing. I have complete creative control. So
Mm-hmm.
that as an artist, when you're doing work, because photography isn't just. I consider myself an artist.
Yes.
So clients tell you what they want, and it's kind of the pressure you have. It's like, okay, I have to get what they want. So I really appreciate that with Mia. She just lets me be creative, and she lets
Mm-hmm.
me do my thing. And every single thing that we've done has been my favorite, like
Yeah.
commercial work. And then
Nice.
outside of work, I do a lot of work with noise cans.
Mm-hmm.
Love him. Obviously, him being Bermudian, him being a creative, and his back for COVID, but he lives in New York, and so
Mm-hmm.
he has those links and sees. He just gets it on a different level, and then when we come in, we just click, like, and
Yeah.
it's just magic. Everything that we do, we get each other, and it flows, and no idea is too much. It's important to have creative control because it's like if not, it just feels like work. I quit my job
Yeah.
for that.
Exactly. Exactly. But it's also interesting too to hear you speak about your favorite photo shoots, but playing your experiences based on the people, the relationships that we have, like ultimately can bring us like other opportunities as well.
Mhm.
Like not just this
Exactly.
like current project, but this person might recommend you for something else, or might
Yeah.
introduce you to someone else, and that's like really how it is. It's like this networking thing.
It's not just send the email. This is what I mean, it can be with photography. That's the only thing, the downside of photography. It's like I still do the running around and this is what I want, this is what I need. But for the most part, the relationships you build with people, those are everything. So grateful for those people who understand.
Yes, and who respect your craft too, and just
Girl, yes,
let
I
you do your thing.
exactly. And I already
Hmm.
put a lot of pressure on myself. I don't work well under pressure. That's
Yeah.
why what I do, how I do it, and I have my little flow and I works. Like even though I'm a photographer and I want to book clients, I don't just shoot with every and anybody and every and
Yes.
any.
Quality over quantity for sure. And you're a self-taught photographer. So I wanted to ask you, what's been the most valuable thing to you in your learning while you've been doing it?
Hmm. I wouldn't even say it's about the photography part because you can never finish learning about that. My favorite part, though, when I was getting started, I reached out to local photographers. So I've gotten to work with Nuri Bashir, Meredith
Mm-hmm.
Andrews, built these relationships
Yes.
and they teach me some things, and that's my favorite part. I would
Yeah.
say about it's just meeting other photographers and
Yes.
getting how they work and them showing you the ropes and yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So going back to relationships again, the relationships are
Yeah,
extremely important.
exactly.
And even nice for them, Meredith Andrews and Nori Bashir, to be able to, reach back and pull someone else up as well.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's awesome.
And people did it for me.
Mm-hmm.
Got some, but it's cool. I got some yeses. I built my relationships I needed to build, and
Right.
he'll track for me, send me opportunities. I use the studio. Meredith puts me onto so much work, and it's just I'm grateful for those experiences and conversations that I've
Mm-hmm.
had to have because I look up to them.
Yeah,
you
definitely.
know,
So
so
in a way, they've kind of like stepped into a role of like mentorship for
sure,
you. Yeah.
100%.
Can you speak a little bit about just how mentorship has guided you and, kind of kept you grounded?
It's something that you have to experience. I
Mm-hmm.
prefer working under a mentor than like I don't think I would be able to sit down in school and learn
Right.
everything. I
Mm-hmm.
need to experience it and like be hands on. So
Yes.
having that person to kind of guide you and them not even realizing they're guiding you, just allowing you to be in their space
Mm-hmm.
and giving. I recommend, even if you're not an artist, like if you want to grow, get a mentor.
Yes.
Look around, reach out to someone who seems like they have what you want. Ask if you could work under them, or if you could, sit down, pick their brain, because it's so much easier to learn
Yeah.
from someone who has been through it. I think people like I think people like to mentor. Like I've
Yes,
had
they
good
do.
experience with my mentors, they enjoy it. Why
Yes.
not have the knowledge? I find that when people are willing to receive the knowledge, people want to give it and
They want to
help.
help. Yeah. I wanted to ask you, Jade, about some of the other photographers that have influenced you and
Mhm.
how did they like influence your thinking, your photographing, and your career path?
Okay. Local photographers. I remember first first Bermudian photographer that ever caught my eye ever. I used to work in a gift shop called Pope and Circumstance when I was like 18, 19.
Mm-hmm.
And sell these prints by Gavin Howard. Now, Gavin Howard is a Bermuda wedding photographer and he does like landscapes and stuff. But he had this one picture of Bermuda, the blinds.
Yes.
There was the old wooden blinds, and I can't remember
Oh,
who
the
I
shutters. I
believe,
think
but
they're
that,
called shutters.
yeah.
Yeah.
But I was like, damn, like that. All the pictures, every other picture was beach and the pretty stuff, but that one picture stood out to me, and I think because it wasn't a beach, but still screamed Bermuda to me, I was like, damn. So outside of that, like from that I followed Nouri's work.
Mm-hmm.
Nouri does a lot of commercial work, but he also shoots film.
Yes.
Him and Mary Andrews, two of my favorite Bermudian photographers,
Mm-hmm.
started film. Seeing their film work, Nuri has a film photography page, and
Yes.
it's all lifestyle photography, Bermuda vacation work, and it's just, I don't know, his work kind of it hits a chord. I don't know if it's
Yeah.
because it's a comedian or what, but his work, something about his film photography is just very raw, and so it's lit. It's lit. And
Mm-hmm.
then um, Meredith, she does a lot of commercial stuff as well, but Meredith does a lot of lifestyle stuff. And even though she appears to me, I kind of like capture the moments.
Mm-hmm.
Meredith, she stages her stuff,
Right.
but she stages her stuff in a way where it's so real and it's so powerful and it's so strategic. And
Mm.
so I think a mixture of Nora's lifestyle and his candid stuff,
Yes.
and then the way it tells her stories,
Mm-hmm.
I think they kind of got me to do what I'm doing. And then Tamal Simmons, someone introduced me to his work
Mm-hmm.
a few years ago. He used to work for the Royal Gazette. He passed. I'm not too sure when,
Okay.
but he passed a few years ago. But his book, Date with Destiny, it
Mm-hmm.
is of it's a photographic history. It's of when the PLP won the election in
Oh
1998.
wow, that was must have been awesome to capture that.
I remember I was even though we was only 7, I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
That was a pivotal moment in Bermuda's history. I
Right.
remember PLP signs everywhere, and I have a memory of even sticking my head out the car for PLP flag. Like,
Right.
so he captured this
Mm-hmm.
perfectly. Just Bermudians, just the sheer happiness and pride, and just what was happening as it was
Mm-hmm.
happening.
Yes,
Yeah, his work.
that's awesome. But I
Yeah.
think it's also interesting to think about you as a photographer capturing history as well.
Mm-hmm.
And just like how important that is. That like you were saying, like if we don't document our history, then who will? Or if we don't tell our stories, then who will? So I wanted to ask you, like, what motivates you to continue taking pictures economically, politically, emotionally? Like, what motivates you?
We don't have these images.
Yeah.
There aren't many, not to toot my horn, but there aren't photographers who are shooting what I'm shooting. Now there are, but
Mm-hmm.
there hasn't been.
Yeah.
They haven't been showcasing it, and it's important to do that. So
Yeah.
it shows that we were here. You can't make up stories and say ABC. Like it's her. You
Mm-hmm.
can see who we are, when we were, what we was doing.
Yes.
It's that's it. And
Yeah.
then aside from that, Bermuda, I love Bermuda, man. We are just, you could walk down the street and find something to shoot. Like Bermuda and Bermudians, this is the most beautiful place on earth. And I
Yes.
really just hate that the
Gorgeous.
world is some big country club. Like it's really not that at
Mm-hmm.
all. The furthest thing from that. We
Yeah.
have this rich, vibrant culture and the way we talk and the way Bermudians move and what we
Mm-hmm.
do and like all of that is just it's beautiful
Yeah.
and it needs to be captured.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and celebrate it. Like, 'cause I feel like that's what you're doing in your work is like you're
Exactly.
celebrating us and,
Yeah, man.
giving us a platform and giving us a voice because
Yeah.
like you said, we don't see that. And that's why I think
Uh-huh.
like you carved out a lane for yourself. So it's interesting, like, now you may be seeing other photographers starting to shoot these things, but you were doing this before other people started doing it.
You
And
and me.
yeah. And so that's why like I find your work to be really raw and genuine. How would you define your photography style?
I would say lifestyle photography,
Okay.
photojournalism. Like
Okay,
it's kind of
photojournalism. Okay.
yeah. That's more or less that's what I like to do. I just like to
Mhm.
capture the moments that are happening.
Yes.
You know?
And then
So yeah,
that's
that's
what's
really
interesting too, because I feel like your photographs leave space for people to be able to imagine something. So it's like you've captured it and it's like a slice of time. But
mm-hmm.
um a photograph doesn't tell the whole story, but what I love about your photography is that you are imagining as you're looking at it what somebody was doing right before that or what somebody did right after that. And so that's why like I cannot wait to see your videography work. Like I'm
No.
encouraging you, sis. I would love
Right.
to see it.
It's coming. It's
Yeah.
coming, man. I'm just trying to. I think I've taken on. I not even think. I've definitely taken on so much.
Mhm.
When I started to panic. I'm like, damn, I need to make money. I don't know. So I've taken on so much work. But
Mhm.
as soon as I'm able to, like, I need to put my books together. I want to sit down and be able to, like, learn film and play with the videography, and
Yeah.
it's coming. It's
Yeah, it
coming.
is. And you have time too. That's the thing. Like
Yeah.
there's time to be able to grow into
Yeah.
that space for sure. I wanted to ask you, Jade, what two pieces of advice do you have for upcoming Bermudian artists or photographers? Young people who might be looking at you or thinking about going into this career path, what advice would you leave for them?
Do it's good.
Yes.
Like that's a big one because I feel like, especially for artists, art still, it's just not viewed as a respectable job, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna get that backlash. You're gonna be scared. You're gonna be afraid to explore, but do it anyway, and don't have any regrets.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have not one regret, and living by that. If you live with regrets, you live with resentment, and when you live with resentment, it just causes all this unnecessary stress. If you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna do something, stick by it and don't regret it.
Yes.
Even if it doesn't work out how you wanted it to work out, there's always a lesson to be learned in every
Mm-hmm.
way. But if
Yes.
you live with regrets and you embrace the lessons, then you're straight.
That's a
You're scared,
word.
right? Girl.
Yes, that is definitely a word. So, Jade, before I let you go, I want to ask you one last question because I
You
was
girl.
so absolutely thrilled and excited for you. And when you won, I felt like I won when I saw that you won the Shaman prize from
Hey.
Masterwork. Yes, like I literally felt like, okay, this is a win, not
Good
just for Jade, but for everybody in the culture.
That still isn't. I mean, obviously, it's hit me. I wanted charming, but
Mm-hmm.
yo, I wanted charming.
Yes.
Charming with my, and it's no diss to Masterworks, and there's no diss to any past winners or anything, but that space, Masterworks, just isn't a space that celebrates Black art. It
Yeah,
doesn't.
it
It
doesn't.
doesn't
Mm-hmm.
happen. And then if it does celebrate Black art, it's usually like a little small, minute little section in the corner of something, or like a group show. You know, it's never really, the attention is never really on us. It's never for us. And so I knew she called me on Wednesday to let me know that I had won, and I'm glad she did that.
Right.
Because I ugly cried. I cursed the only fan because I didn't even, honestly, Jayde, like I didn't think I was gonna win anything.
Right.
And I answered because Lisa was like, "No, girl, you should answer just because." You know, like I had the idea, but I had so much going on. Like I didn't. The first frame that I built that fell apart. So I had like a week to do everything. So I had to get all the pictures printed in different sizes, and I was just like, man, I'm not even going to place. Like I'm just going to answer this thing, you know, let people see my work. But then when they called me, I had won. And to know that the judges weren't Bermudian, like the judges were Floridian. And it kind of gave me that confirmation, like, okay, Jade, like these aren't people who just knew you. Because so often once your names, people pick up your name in Bermuda, it just goes. And I'm grateful for that, but sometimes it's like, well, am I really talented? Like, is it really? Are you
like,
guys really talented?
is the work strong just on its own without my name being attached to it?
Exactly. And so that win confirmed all of that for me. Like, I'm good, girl. It was just amazing. And then to walk into like you and the charming girl, like the people, I won. I can't believe it. I really can't. And it was just, it was an amazing experience. I don't know how else. I can't even put it into words. It was an amazing experience, and it really did feel like a win for the culture because it was just showcasing us, like Black Bermudians. This didn't just, you know, it wasn't anything extra. It just showed us in our natural, beautiful, just raw, happy. Black people were white. It's just this stigma that was scary and that we're strong and we're hard. And it's like, I never want people, my work is strong, yes, but I never ever want to produce images where people can't even have anything negative to say, or I never want to tie my work to anything like that. So it's just, dog, I won the Shaman.
Yes, you won the Shaman, and Jay, yo, so
That was
deserving, so deserving. Honestly, like our stories need to be told, our stories need to be heard. And that's the other thing that I've noticed about Bermuda as well. Sometimes it takes outside recognition before you get the recognition in Bermuda, you know? Because
imagine all the artists that are going to enter the Shaman now. You know, Black artists had never entered before because they're like, nah, it's Masterworks. I ain't in. You know, it's like doors are opening. It's so exciting.
Yes. And so that's why your VN was so representative of the possibility for other people. Like it, like almost like you open the door and you're leaving the door open for others. That's why I was so moved and so freaking excited for you. Like I was screaming like it was me. Oh my gosh. What it represented was such a big deal. And I was so happy for you. And you know, this is just the beginning. I'm really excited to see what's to come of your journey, and you know, your artistic path and your photography. Is really humbling also to be your contemporary because your work is incredible. And so for me to be able to show my work in the biennial with you, an honor. It was an honor.
Yes. The feeling is mutual. You're doing your thing, Jayde. Like you are doing your thing, sis. Come on now. Come on. Yes. Come on.
So the feeling's definitely mutual, Jade. But yeah, I'm so happy for you. And you know, to see your journey from the beginning, wow, like what a story, you know. And I think that's what's inspiring too, is because you're so relatable. Like
Yeah.
people can see you and see themselves in you, and not just you, but also your work too. And I think that and your personality, like that's gonna carry you, really far.
Thank you, Jayde.
Yes, of course.
Yes, it just is what it is.
Yeah.
These are. I wish I want to create things that I wish I would have seen as a kid
Hmm.
or as an artist, or So
Yes,
this is
definitely.
going
And
by
that's the
myself.
thing. We can't wait for other people to make what we want to see. If we don't see it, we just have to do it ourselves.
Past asking for handouts.
Yeah.
I am juice and the squeeze, and I'll do it by myself.
Right.
And you want to
Yes.
catch up? Cool. My hands open. But if not, I ain't got time.
Right. Exactly. And then it's funny too, though, because the places where you have received no's,
Mm,
now people are probably coming to you asking you.
Girl, no. You can't let that stuff bother you,
Yeah.
because
You just have to keep going, for
exactly
sure.
what's meant for you is meant for you, and it will happen.
Mm-hmm. And then, some people have to see it after.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And
And
that's
then,
what's crazy too. Like you just have to hold on to a vision that only you could see. Even if
exactly.
other people can't see it for you. You just have to hold true to your vision.
Exactly. And that's another thing we have to learn. I struggled with that in the beginning. I knew because I knew how lit I was and where I wanted to take it and what I was doing, but everyone else didn't see it. But we have to remember sometimes that this is our dream.
Yes.
People see our dream the way we see it,
Mm-hmm.
and so you really can't do it skirt. No
Yeah.
regrets, right? You can't do that type of
Absolutely.
resentment, or you can't hold on to those nerves, and
Yeah.
because your dream, people don't see it, so just keep going
Mm-hmm.
anyway.
Have to keep pushing. Have to
Exactly.
keep pushing. Definitely. Well, Jade, this has been an absolute pleasure. Honestly, I'm so glad we could have you on the show. I'm so
Having me,
glad to be a contemporary. We should do something, Kalea, do
it's
something,
coming.
work together. Yeah, it's coming soon.
Sorry, it's coming. I've got a project.
Yes. Let's put it together, give something, leave something for the people.
Mhm.
But I'm so happy we could have this conversation. I wanted to ask you, where can everybody find you online?
Online, I'm on Instagram mainly, Queendom_Heights, and then the link to my websites. They're still working on my website, but there's a few things up. I
Mm-hmm.
have my COVID-19 thing, and my culture project with Noise Cans is up on my website.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, mainly just Instagram for now. I
Awesome.
have that grill and things, and yeah, man, they're
Oh, I
happening.
love that store. Oh my goodness, it's so beautiful in there. I went in there in March, and I had heard about it, but I was like, let me go. I gotta go before I leave Bermuda. So dope in there.
Needed
For
that.
the cultures, for the
We need
culture. I loved it in there.
culture, body culture.
Yes, absolutely. So shout out to Griot Bermuda and what they're doing, for the community, putting
Mhm.
education back into the community through books and things like
Exactly.
that. It's awesome.
Schools and teachers.
Yes, definitely. But Jay, thank you so much.
All right, cool. Love you, girl. Talk
Love
to you
you.
later.
Okay, take care. Please share with friends, subscribe, and rate us on iTunes. If you'd like to connect with us, you can find us online at theartifacts.com and on Instagram at theartifacts. If you'd like to send us a message or to suggest an artist that you'd like to see on the show, please connect with us at theartifacts@gmail.com. Thank you so much, and I'm looking forward to sharing with you our upcoming episodes. Peace and blessings. This recording is copyrighted by Jayde Hassel, and all rights are reserved.